What if the Night King and White Walkers invaded the Star Wars galaxy? Let's explore the depths of it in the video.
I am proud of you, my sons. In a few short months, you have created an empire that would rival our greatest foes.
Indeed, Mother. We have many soldiers and countless resources to call upon, and yet I fear that we still lack the strength to face Sideous or the Jedi. We will need more.
Then you were right to come here. I have the solution to your needs. Did you bring the prisoners?
The two nod as Savage reaches out from the exit and brings forth several Mandalorian prisoners they had taken from the new rebel cell fighting against them. They are escorted by Gar Saxon as Talzin produces an obsidian knife. She begins to chant as the knight levitates off the ground, and several runes appear on the side of its blade, painted in a sticky green glow. As she continues her chant, the knife buries itself in the chest of Gar. The man doesn't even have time to cry out as the knife sinks into his body. As he writhes on the ground, the man's face begins to change. His skin becomes cold to the touch, and the color drains from his body, leaving a ghostly white and blue hue around him. The prisoners watch in terror as when he opens his eyes, they are cold blue. And then he begins to stand and touch their foreheads. Suddenly, they all experience the same change as their bodies shift and twist, turning into White Walkers.
This is a powerful spell that will summon an ancient evil. From these seeds will grow your army.
What should we do, Mother?
Return them to their home planet. Unleash them upon their people, and you shall gain an army like no other. One that not even the Sith can stand against.
Maul approaches the first White Walker, which lunges at him, but Gar simply raises his hand and the man freezes. His body twitches, but then he drops to the ground on one knee and bows before him. The Sith Lord smiles and beckons him to rise.
Gar Saxon's loyalty in the power of the White Walkers. Intriguing.
The brothers obey Talzin's instructions and release the White Walkers onto Sundari. They are led by Gar Saxon, now dubbed the Night King. They do so in the sewers where they prey on unsuspecting maintenance workers. The victims are risen back as undead whites. These creatures are not nearly as intelligent, but more numerous. They soon begin to spread, attacking more of the poorest districts. They target the docks, the barracks, and the police stations. The only people spared are Maul's loyal Death Watch soldiers and gangsters. Everyone else in the city is raised as whites. Among the dead are most of the rebel Mandalorians, except for Bo-Katan and a few others who managed to escape. Palpatine senses a disturbance in the Force and confronts them in secret. As he passes through the city, he sees the whites patrolling through the streets, including their White Walker masters. For a rare moment, Palpatine feels a hint of fear as he sees these monstrosities. He finds Maul sitting on his throne with Savage by his side. As they consider their next move, they begin spreading their army further. They sense a dark presence in the Force, followed by a cold energy that sends them shivering. The heavy doors creak open, and Maul's eyes snap to the figure. Darth Sideous strides into the room, his black robes flowing like liquid shadow.
Look at these wayward apprentices. You have unleashed horrors beyond even my imagination. Do you truly believe these monsters will grant you the power you seek? I should have this entire planet destroyed, and the blight you've unleashed eradicated with it.
I am not as deluded as you think. They serve no one, my master. I know this. They exist to destroy, to consume, to burn this broken galaxy to the ground, so that something stronger can rise from the ashes.
And you think that is you? You have traded control for chaos. These creatures are not your allies. They are a plague. And like all plagues, they must be eradicated.
And who shall do that? You. You wish for nothing more than chaos, and I have unleashed far more than you could ever imagine.
Do you think my plans are chaos? All you show is how truly blind you are. But worry not. I'm here to clean up your mistake.
Without warning, Sideous raises his hands and unleashes a torrent of force lightning. The two brothers cross their lightsabers and block the attack. Once Maul plants his feet on the ground, he leaps up and pushes Palpatine back, though the Chancellor doesn't lose balance. Instead, he ignites his lightsaber and rushes at them. The throne room bursts into flashes of light as their lightsabers clash. Maul's quick and savage attacks whirl at Palpatine, striking at several angles as he twirls his saber staff. Savage comes from behind and strikes with his lightsaber. His movements are far more aggressive, so even if he doesn't land a blow, the Force throws Palpatine back, knocking him off balance and allowing Maul to follow up. But Palpatine regains his footing and whirls his lightsaber, cutting him across the face and sending Maul hissing in pain, narrowly missing his eye. He tries to throw Palpatine off balance once again, but this time the Chancellor is ready and counters with his blow. Palpatine proves stronger and Maul is the one who falls back. This allows him to focus on Savage, his attacks moving too fast for the less experienced Night Brother, who begins to give ground. Though he deflects his attack, Palpatine moves like a phantom, his attacks coming out of nowhere while practically disappearing under Savage's attacks. After one downward swing, he sidesteps and disarms the large warrior before kicking him and crashing him against the column. Maul hurries to try and defend him, but his rush makes his movements clumsy, allowing Palpatine to slide under his attack and slam him against the wall. The duel intensifies, the air thick with the hum of lightsabers and the crackle of force energy. Sideous is relentless, his mastery overwhelming the brothers as they try to defend themselves. Maul's strikes grow desperate, and Savage's movements slow as the Sith Lord exploits every weakness.
Enough!
Reaching out with the Force, he issues a silent command. From the shadows, a White Walker steps into the throne room. Behind it, a horde of whites follows, filling the space with the stench of death. Sideous meets the attack head-on, his lightsabers clashing against the icy weapon. The Walker's strength is staggering, its movements unnervingly swift and precise. The whites swarm Sideous, clawing at his robes and skin. He tries to cut them down. Their numbers are endless, and for every one that falls, another takes its place. Soon, he barely has even the space to swing his lightsaber. With a guttural roar, Sideous unleashes a powerful force wave, sending the undead flying across the room. The Walker thrusts its spear, grazing Sidious's side. He hisses in pain and retaliates with a crackling blast of force lightning. The creature staggers but presses forward, its icy aura chilling the air around them. Savage seizes the moment, lunging at Sideous with his lightsaber. This distraction gives Maul an opening to strike from the other side. Sideous parries Savage's blow but is caught off guard as the White Walker's spear pierces his shoulder. Sideous roars and plunges his lightsaber into the Walker's chest, shattering it into a storm of icy shards. The whites collapse instantly, their lifeless bodies crumpling to the ground. But the damage is done. Maul stands over him and drives his lightsaber into Palpatine's chest. Soon after Palpatine's death, the Republic is thrown into chaos as they have no idea. As far as they know, the Chancellor simply disappeared into thin air. They try to make sense of what's happened and spend the next few weeks in chaos. However, Maul soon clears up any confusion as he broadcasts a video across the holonet showing Palpatine being executed by Maul. He edits out the White Walker and whites and shows only his death. The video comes with a message to both the CIS and the Republic to yield to him or suffer the consequences. Unsurprisingly, both sides refuse and declare war on him. To them, it seems like an easy victory, and they begin attacking their criminal holdings. They blow through the initial defenses, letting ground forces land as ships and criminals are scattered. The droids attack the huts, and the clones attack the pikes. But Maul and Savage deploy their whites and White Walkers there ahead of time, and from the warehouses, the whites come rushing out. They are clumsy and unskilled, but incredibly strong, and many are wearing the armor of Deathwatch, giving them some protection and fire blasters at the enemy soldiers. Though blaster fire cuts them down, they don't feel pain and simply ignore the injuries and rush at enemy soldiers. Clones and droids fall to their claws, blades, and blasters, some buried alive by them. Those that fall are added to the ranks. This happens across several fronts, resulting in heavy losses for the Republic and its organic troops. The CIS fare a bit better, as none of their soldiers can be raised from the dead, but they still suffer heavy losses. For the first time, they face a foe as relentless and innumerable as them. As they are driven back, both sides switch tactics, instead relying on air support as the Whites are unable to use complex equipment like starships and fighters. This gives them an advantage in the skies, but they are not fully uncontested, as the criminals and Mandalorians provide air support, blowing a hole through their defenses and transport ships laden with Whites to board their ships. Soon their ships fall just as their armies, and the offensives against the Shadow Collective come to a grinding halt. This victory gives Maul military assets, allowing him to face them in open battle. All across the galaxy, he uses his fleet to sow terror across the galaxies, swarming across defenseless worlds. With each victory, their army grows. Even the Jedi struggle against them. With their power, they can stem the side slightly, as the Whites are cut apart by lightsabers or tossed aside by the Force. But the Jedi's numbers are even more limited, resulting in horrific casualties. Slowly, the front lines begin to crumble, pushing both factions on the defensive as they create defensive lines to prevent the White Walkers from spreading. Maul's criminal empire makes them even more unpredictable. Their use of smuggling and piracy allows them to transport Whites and White Walkers to unsuspecting systems. Even a handful of Whites and a single White Walker can break entire defenses. With the risk of collapse growing higher and higher, Count Dooku makes a desperate move. He contacts his old colleagues in the Jedi through Obi-Wan. Without Palpatine manipulating him, he is now free to make his own decisions. He sends a transmission to Obi-Wan, urging him to join him.
Obi-Wan, I know we've had our differences in the past, but these White Walkers are a threat we cannot ignore. I have some knowledge of them, but I lack the Force to take them alone, and I am certain that you have the same problem. If we want the galaxy to survive, we will need to work together.
Despite their skepticism, they know he is right, and allow Dooku to send a delegation to Coruscant. The Count arrives and heads to the Jedi Temple for the first time in many years.
Thank you for heeding my warning. I do not like our odds, but perhaps together we might stand a chance.
Spare us the dramatics, Dooku. You said you had information on these creatures. Let's hear it.
Straight to the point as ever, Skywalker. Very well. These creatures are called White Walkers. They are ancient dark side creatures created during the ancient Sith empires. They have incredible necromantic powers, which is how they've raised the undead.
But that doesn't tell us how we can destroy them. For every soldier we lose, their ranks are further bolstered. We can't outfight them.
No, not with our current strategy. But my droids cannot be raised. This allows us an ample opportunity. If they are stifled with your clones, then we might be able to beat them back. Blaster fire is effective, but fire is better, and my droids do not fear the heat.
Suddenly, another figure appears escorted by temple guards, Bo-Katan and her Mandalorians.
The White Walkers are the key. If you only target the Whites, you are simply fighting the tip of the spear. To win this battle, you must break the haft. The Whites are mindless, uncoordinated, and incapable of strategic thought.
Yeah, but we haven't seen many White Walkers. Most of our forces report that if a White Walker is present, it's far in the back, practically impossible to reach by our forces.
That's by design. I've seen what happens when one falls. It shatters all the Whites it controls. Maul knows this too. That's why he keeps them out of the action.
Slowly, a plan begins to form for how to combat them. They need to create a distraction to draw out Maul's forces, something tempting that he cannot ignore. so Anakin and Grievous attack Nal Hutta, capturing the main settlement of the city. They know that Maul cannot leave such an attack unanswered, so tension remains high as droids assemble barricades and clones set traps. Explosives are rigged along the swamp's narrow paths, and fire traps are positioned to create controlled infernos. In the distance, the eerie groans of whites pierce the air, followed by a chorus of unnatural snarls. The swamp churns and shifts as undead forms begin to rise from the mud, their decayed bodies dragging themselves forward. Their eyes glow with cold, unnatural light, and their numbers seem endless. Above them, criminal gunships and fighters try to land more whites in the middle of the city, but they face a flurry of vulture droids and ARC-170s.
Pathetic creatures! I will grind them into this swamp.
Just try not to get stuck in the mud, Grievous. With a snarl, Grievous raises his lightsabers and leads the charge. B-1 battle droids fire blasters in mass volleys, cutting down the first wave of whites. Behind them, destroyer droids roll into position, unfolding and planting their feet into the ground. Spider droids provide additional artillery fire, blowing through groups of whites. Behind them, the clones remain in the city or above on elevated platforms and provide fire support. A handful of teams venture closer with flamethrowers, burning through the enemy ranks. The whites fall in droves, but more rise to take their place. They swarm the droids, clawing and tearing with relentless fury. Explosives detonate along the pathways, sending whites flying in bursts of fire until they are nothing but ash. Through the blaze, Grievous leaps out with his lightsabers flashing as he slices through the horde. His laughter rings out across the swamp as he whirls his lightsabers around, clearing the area around him. But then the whites surge from unexpected angles and climb over their fallen, overwhelming the droids through sheer numbers.
Fall back to the choke points. Hold the line!
The clones regroup, forming defensive positions and dropping explosives as they run to clear the path and give them clear lines of fire. Still, the whites press on, their endless numbers forcing the Republic forces to retreat inch by inch. Grievous is the last to retreat, his lightsabers cleaving through the whites. But as he enters the city, a hand shoves him forward. Savage Opress steps forward, his hulking form towering over the whites.
And here I thought this battle would be boring.
Savage charges, his lightsaber swinging in brutal heavy arcs, but Grievous matches his strength and laughs, slashing him across the side with his third arm. As Savage doubles over, Grievous grabs him and tosses him into a house. Anakin is waiting there and swings at him, but Savage dodges the attack and slams his fist against Anakin's stomach. The weight of the blow sends him lifting off the ground. He swings at Anakin, the Jedi leaps up and closes in. Their lightsabers light up the ruined building. Grievous joins in from behind, but Savage whirls around to block their attacks. His lightsaber begins to spin, so Grievous does the same. All four lightsabers roar to life and rush towards him, but Grievous, aided by his cybernetic enhancements, manages to go faster and wounds Savage in several places, forcing him to drop his lightsaber. Anakin takes his chance and kicks him across the face. Grievous is on him again and deactivates his lightsaber.
I don't think I'll need them for this.
He begins to pummel Savage and grabs him by the leg before smashing him to the ground. Anakin finishes up by bringing his lightsaber down across his neck.
Now that was fun.
Meanwhile, an elite strike team cuts through the jungles of Dathomir. Obi-Wan glances at his companions, Dooku, Mace Windu, Plo Koon, Bo-Katan, and her rebel Mandalorians. But as they near the fortress, the mists seem to swirl around them, and through its cover, the whites come from all directions. The Mandalorians form a firing line, unleashing jets of flames that burn through their ranks. The group breaks into a run as they fight their way into the enemy fortress. But as they draw nearer, the whites only increase, and they soon begin to overwhelm them. They somehow manage to reach the steps of the fortress. Plo Koon raises his hand and throws a burst of force judgment at the advancing whites, while Mace sends a statue crushing down on them. They rally the Mandalorians to their side.
Get inside. We'll hold them off.
Inside the main chamber, they find Mother Talzin atop her ancient throne, peering into a dark cauldron.
You are bold to come here. That shall be your undoing.
You have meddled with powers you cannot control.
From the shadows, Maul and the Night King emerge. The latter raises a frosted spear and hurls it at them. The Count sidesteps and slashes the spear apart with his lightsaber, but he focuses on Talzin, who raises a green barrier around herself. Even Dooku's Force Lightning can't get through. Bo-Katan activates her jetpack and flies through the air, firing her blasters at the Night King, though he shrugs off these attacks and blocks Obi-Wan's swing with his sword. Maul strikes from behind, putting Obi-Wan on the defensive. The Mandalorian activates a jet fire at Maul, but the Night King opens his mouth and unleashes a breath of air that freezes the weapon. But it gives Obi-Wan a chance to kick the Night King aside just as Maul swings his lightsaber at him. Obi-Wan has to turn and block this attack. He pushes back against the Night Brother, his offensive attacks measured but strong. Maul finds himself unable to break through as they are locked in combat. Then, Maul goes low and sweeps at his leg, but Obi-Wan slams his knee against his face just as the Night King comes from behind. He's about to stab down, but a flurry of blaster bolts from Bo-Katan gets Obi-Wan's attention. She dives low and uses her grappling hook to entangle his legs, sending him tumbling off the ground. Obi-Wan raises his lightsaber and prepares to finish him off, but Maul tackles him and sends them both sprawling to the ground. His metallic legs slam into Obi-Wan, and he uses one hand to begin strangling him while the other reaches for his darksaber.
I've dreamed of this moment for many years.
As he prepares to bring it down, Bo-Katan's grappling hook wraps around his arm and pulls it back, long enough for Obi-Wan to wiggle out of his grasp and kick the darksaber out of his hand. As she prepares to fire at him, a hand grabs her and she feels a chill run through her arm. Ice begins to spread across her armor as the Night King pulls her aside and stabs her in the stomach.
No!
He uses the Force to throw the Night King back as Bo-Katan stumbles away, trailing blood behind her. This leaves him alone to face both opponents. Maul reaches for his double-sided lightsaber and begins to spin it around, the attacks coming so fast he can barely defend himself while the Night King presses forward, his blade sending out an eerie shriek every time it connects with his lightsaber. Obi-Wan is pushed on the defensive as he tries in vain to block their attacks, but they slowly begin to break through his defenses. He takes a glancing blow to the shoulder, followed by a gash across the thigh from the Night King. Maul punches him in the face, and they both leap at him. Obi-Wan uses the Force to push them back in the opposite direction. Growling, the Night King unleashes another wave of frost, but Obi-Wan redirects it towards Maul. The cold begins freezing the joints of his legs, causing him to slow down just as Obi-Wan lunges forward. Maul blocks his first attack, but Obi-Wan twists and reverses his grip, driving his lightsaber into his back. This leaves only the Night King, who prepares his sword. He hears a faint hiss from above as Bo-Katan drops from the air, darksaber in hand, as it slices down at him. However, the Night King is faster, his cold eyes staring at her and then shaking his head, taunting just as he hurls her across the room against a wall with a sickening crunch. Obi-Wan screams and rushes forward, his lightsaber flashing as their weapons lock together. The Night King remains silent throughout the exchange, his presence overwhelming as he steps closer, swinging his sword with a nearly robotic rhythm. Obi-Wan struggles to beat back this attack, as his strength is otherworldly. With each blow, he stumbles back or nearly loses grip of his weapon, but he remains standing, unwilling to give ground or surrender. He comes at him again and again, taking minor wounds, even as none of his attacks connect. Eventually, he staggers back and feels exhaustion starting to get to him. Obi-Wan hunches over as the Night King approaches. Suddenly, a burst of lightning strikes the Night King from behind. Mace and Plo Koon come rushing in, lightsabers ready. Both look badly wounded, but that does not stop them from attacking. Together, the three masters unleash their wrath against the Night King, but the creature remains defiant, his sword everywhere as he blocks their attacks. But against three masters, this isn't a fight he can maintain, and begins to give ground. Slowly, cracks in his defenses show as his strength wanes. At last, he parries a quick blow from Plo. Obi-Wan drives his lightsaber into his chest. The Night King can only stare as his body breaks apart. Meanwhile, the duel between Talzin and Dooku is not going well. Dooku's red blade carves through the arcs of Talzin's magic, each swing forcing the witch to retreat a step. But she continues to come at him, moving from different angles as her magic seems to have a mind of its own. The mist and tendrils lash out against him. She hurls an orb of energy toward him. Dooku uses the Force to redirect it towards the wall. The trio of Jedi rushes at her, causing Talzin to redirect the magic at them. Spectral hands lash at them with clawed fingers, cutting their arms and torsos, but Mace hangs back and slowly hacks them apart. The three of them surround Talzin, and Dooku summons lightning. Talzin tries to raise her barrier, but her shields shatter against their attack and sends her stumbling. They raise their lightsabers, but the mists grab at them and try to redirect them as she produces a dagger and makes a stab at Dooku. Obi-Wan is faster though, and catches her hand and twists it aside. The four men raise their lightsabers and bring them down on her chest. Mother Talzin screams as her body dissipates into green mist. With her and the Night King destroyed, all the White Walkers and Whites across the galaxy break apart, shattering their army in an instant. Dooku is left as the only Sith, but after this war, he loses all taste for the dark side and offers to surrender, accepting his punishment. He exposes Palpatine's faction, forcing Mas Amedda to resign and allowing an impartial chancellor to begin negotiations with the CIS and Republic. Most leaders are brought to the table as the galaxy is too devastated to continue fighting. The only exception is Grievous, who escapes and goes into hiding, leaving Anakin and Obi-Wan to track him down. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.